Have you ever wondered what really makes a great athlete? I mean, what separates the good from the truly legendary? It's not just about the incredible plays you see on TV. So today, we're going to break down the science behind it all, using a physical education textbook as our guide to map out that entire journey, from a raw spark of talent to peak world-class performance.
And that brings us to the age-old question, right? Nature versus nurture. But for the sports world, are champions just born with some kind of genetic lottery ticket, or are they forged piece by piece in the gym and on the practice field? Well, the truth, as we're about to see, is this fascinating dance between the two.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll kick things off with that spark of potential. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of building the engine and mastering the mind. After that, we'll look at the unseen forces. Yep, we're talking physics. And finally, we'll wrap it all up. So let's get started with finding that raw talent.
Every single athletic journey, no matter the sport, starts right here. It starts with identifying that raw potential. Long before the training montages and the big championship games, you've got people out there looking for that spark, that natural ability that makes someone stand out from the crowd.
You know, there's a formal name for this: talent identification. And it's so much more than just spotting who's the best player on the field today. It's really about prediction. It's a science focused on finding the raw materials, the height, the speed, the coordination, that hint at future greatness.
And this whole process really happens in 3 key stages. First, you have detection. Think of this like casting a huge wide net to find anyone with potential. Then comes identification, where you zero in on the really promising ones, the ones who could go all the way. But that last step, development, that might just be the most important part. Because all the natural talent in the world means absolutely nothing without the right coaching and the right environment to help it grow.
Okay, so the talent's been spotted, the blueprint is there, but that's just the beginning. Now it's time for the real work to start. It's time to build the engine that turns all that potential into actual power.
This is where the real hard science of sports training comes into play. It's a systematic process, designed to push the human body to its absolute limits, and then a little bit further. So let's look at 2 basic ways you can build endurance.
When you're talking about building endurance, you've really got 2 main philosophies. On one hand, you've got interval training. Think of a sprinter doing these all-out 100-meter dashes with rest periods in between. It's all about those sharp peaks and valleys of effort. And on the other hand, you have continuous training. That's your classic, long, steady jog of a marathon runner. They both work to build that engine, but they go about it in completely different ways. And strength isn't just one thing. It's actually got a few different faces. First, there's maximum strength. That's the raw 1-rep max power of a weightlifter. Then you've got explosive strength, which is all about combining strength with speed, something a boxer or sprinter absolutely needs. And finally, there's strength endurance. That's what lets a rower or a swimmer keep making those powerful movements over and over again without gassing out. Different sports need a different mix of all 3.
But look, having a powerful body, that's only half the battle. Now we have to turn to the arena inside your head, the mind. Because as any top-tier athlete will tell you, the toughest opponent you will ever face is yourself.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. Think about a penalty shootout in soccer, or the final putt to win a golf tournament. Your physical skill gets you to that moment, but it's emotional stability, that ability to stay cool under crushing pressure, that's what wins championships. Without it, even the most gifted athletes can just fall apart.
This brings us to a really crucial idea in sports psychology: aggression. See, there's hostile aggression, which is just pure, uncontrolled anger, where the goal is just to hurt someone. But then there's instrumental aggression. Think of a hard, clean tackle to win the ball. It's assertive, it's focused on a goal, it's not driven by anger. The best athletes live in that second category. They channel that intensity without ever losing control.
All right, let's peel back one more layer here and look at the invisible forces that control every single movement an athlete makes: biomechanics. This is where sports and physics crash into each other, and it explains everything from how a swimmer glides through the water to how a gymnast sticks a landing.
And it all really starts with something you probably learned back in science class: Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Now, this isn't just some boring textbook concept, it's the engine behind pretty much all sports. A swimmer pushes water back to move forward. A sprinter shoves the starting blocks back to explode off the line. It's everywhere.
And this yoga pose is just a perfect example of that. The action is pushing the feet into the hands. The reaction is that equal and opposite force that then lifts the body up.
It's this constant balanced fight between forces that creates the stability and the strength you see in the pose.
And then we have friction, which in sports is often called a necessary evil. On one hand, you absolutely need it for grip. Think of a basketball player's shoes squeaking on the court. But you're also constantly fighting against it. Think of a cyclist wearing an aerodynamic helmet trying to slice through the air. Athletes have to constantly manage this balancing act.
Okay, so we've covered the potential, the physical engine, the mental game, and even the laws of physics. So let's try to put all of these pieces of the puzzle together and see the complete blueprint of what makes an athlete.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, athletic greatness isn't about just one thing. It's a formula. It all starts with that spark of potential, sure, but that potential is then built up through scientific training, and every move is governed by the laws of physics. But the one thing that ties it all together, the catalyst, is a disciplined, tough, and resilient mind. You really need every single piece of that puzzle.
You know, the science we've been talking about today isn't just for the pros you see on your screen. It's really a reminder that every physical achievement, whether it's big or small, is this amazing combination of body, mind, and science. So the next time you watch a great athlete, don't just see the talent. See the whole blueprint. See the science at work.